All right. Welcome to another episode of the Empowerment School, where we're making empowerment a daily habit. This is the show where you learn the art and science of empowerment. No woo-woo fluff stuff. What we're showing you step by step how to be more empowered. So I'm your host, Monish, and today what we're going to be talking about is how to stop beating yourself up. I know a lot of people who beat themselves up all the time, and I used to be one of these people too. Okay, it doesn't really help you. Okay, and my coach sort of called me out on when I was beating myself up, and he taught me a really cool way to stop doing that so that I could become more empowered and a more positive person, just generally overall. So let me just give you an example of what we're going to go over. So an example, someone who's a Debbie Downer, right, would say something like, hey, I'm not successful. Okay, but a positive Polly, what she would say is, hey, I'm not successful yet. Okay, I'm not successful versus I'm not successful yet. Now, what you can hear from the first one is that it's very definitive. It's very much like, hey man, I am not successful, period. But the second one, I am not successful yet, creates something altogether. It allows for possibility. So what is going on here? How do you sort of shift your language naturally, and how do you sort of practice it? It's very important to understand what's going on. So let me show you guys a diagram. If you're watching the video, you can see it very clearly. I'll describe it to you if you're listening to the audio. So what it is look, we all have goals. We all want to reach some place. And, that process, that journey is going to be challenging. Okay. And we want to reach our goals because that typically is a place better than here. We want to achieve, we want to grow, we want to have certain things in our lives. Okay. So what we do is we keep on moving and we try. And the going is slow. Sometimes, it starts becoming kind of frustrating after a while. You're like, hey, I'm not reaching my goals. Then we start freaking out. Who here hasn't started freaking out because they're not reaching a certain goal? Okay. And this is where the problem comes. This is where disempowering language starts showing up. And this is where we start becoming someone who doesn't have any possibility in their language, really is sort of negative. So let's take a look at that because we don't want you to be that way. Okay, so disempowering language, right? I gave an example earlier. I'm not rich. I'm not living my passion. I'm not social. I'm not in a relationship. I'm not XYZ. Now, the fact may be, yeah, you may not be rich, you may not be social, or you may not be in a relationship. Okay, but the language, how you say and talk about things is super key. And I'll go into that too a little bit about how your language actually creates your reality. So this is the thing, right? That language is disempowering language. Why do we care? Well, if you hear it, there's no possibility. It's super negative. Who wants to hang out with a negative person? There's no personal power. It's kind of like you're a victim of your circumstances. It's very reactive. I'm not rich. I'm not in a relationship. It's almost like, okay, well, it sounds like you can't really do anything about it. You're kind of a victim to it. There's no hope in the statements, and there's a hint of failure, that you've somehow failed. Okay? So this is what I noticed, right? The language implies that it's important to be somewhere. Like I showed you before, right? You're at one location and you're trying to reach your goals at another language. And the disempowering language, it's kind of like there's this hint of desperation or exasperation and urgency. I am not successful. I am not living my passion. I don't know my purpose. Okay? I don't drive a nice car. All these statements, it's really fear-based language. It's not really based on some sort of hope or possibility or anything like that. And why do we care? Well, your language reinforces and creates your reality. I'm going to repeat that. Your language reinforces and creates your reality. Yeah, man. So this is the thing, right? The more that you say stuff like that, hey, I'm not rich, or hey, I'm not successful, the more that you're going to start reinforcing that. I have to catch myself doing this all the time. At times I'll start saying, hey, I don't have a successful website, or hey, I don't have these many people visiting my website. Man, that's such a negative way to say things. Okay. And that language, I need to catch myself doing that. Okay. That's just really me beating myself up. Okay. So what we want to do, my coaching, is to stop beating yourself up and to start paying attention to what is that need to be somewhere. Okay. For me, what I realized is that we tend to think that progress is essential. Okay, you have certain goals, you're trying to reach those goals, and you're not there yet. It sucks. But why does it suck? Why does it feel lame? Why do you feel like a failure? Okay, why do you talk like a failure? Okay, the reason I think is it's very cultural. We live in America. I live in America. And in America, a lot of times progress and working is, it's always there in our culture. Americans are known to be workaholics. Okay, we are the type of people that, we're always moving towards something. We're always doing something, and if we don't actually, reach a certain mark by a certain time, we start freaking out and our language starts becoming lame. We start getting bitter. And if you don't catch it, if you don't nip it in the bud, it's going to keep on growing and you just become a jaded, negative person that nobody wants to hang out with, except for other negative people. And you're going to attract that in your life too, as well. So this is the thing. If you talk to a lot of people that are into meditation, they'll say that, hey man, look, doing nothing is not a waste, right? We think that doing nothing is a waste, not reaching our goals, just sitting there for the day and doing absolutely nothing. Sometimes we think that's a waste, right? I used to think that all the time. Okay. So being somewhere other than here is good. And here right now, if I'm not doing anything, trying to get to somewhere else, I'm lame. Okay. So this is the thing. Doing nothing, even people say meditation, sitting, right? What they say is that if on a busy day, on your busiest day, you should be taking 10 minutes off. Okay, I heard some sort of Zen quote about that, right? You should always have the time to just sit there and do nothing. Okay, so that's the thing, right? You need to start understanding that it's not about progress. And it gets so hammered in our culture. It's not about progress, it's about process. Okay, it's about how you feel about it. It's about how you're going about it. Okay, if you can focus on those things, those are healthier conversations to get into. Okay, yeah, I'm not reaching my goal. How do I feel about that? Okay, focusing on the process. Okay, I'm going to reach my goal, but I'm going to have peace of mind. I'm going to have empowering language. Okay, and we're going to get into that empowering language now. Language softeners. Okay, this is a concept, actually, I think it's from hypnosis, conversational hypnosis. Conversational hypnosis is where basically you're using language to sort of subtly speak to the subconscious mind. So don't worry about that too much. But in hypnosis, hypnosis is all about words and language and getting you into trance. But they use really key words. And a language softener is words like yet, or more, or perhaps, or could, or maybe. Okay? Words like yet, more, perhaps, could, or maybe. And I'll show you some examples of how those work. The two that I think you guys should focus on is yet and more. And I'll give you examples. Okay. These words, these language softeners, one thing to keep in mind, these lessen the impact of your statement. Remember before those statements sounded very definitive, the disempowering statements? These ones allow for possibility and positivity. It basically loosens up your language because internally there's more available to you. And I'll talk about that. Let me give you some examples. Example number 1. Okay. Someone who's a Debbie Downer will say, I'm not rich. I'm not rich. They might even come to you, like I've heard people say stuff like this. Hey, I'm not living my passion. I'm not rich. Okay. Well, the positive person will say, I'm not rich yet. I'm not rich yet. Do you hear the difference? I'm not rich seems to have a period. I'm not rich versus I'm not rich yet. Notice how much is available at the end of that sentence. Another one, I'm not living my passion. Okay. Positive Polly. I am not living my passion yet. So Debbie Downer, I'm not living my passion. Positive Polly, I am not living my passion yet. Debbie Downer says, I need to be proactive. Okay, we just had an episode. Last episode was on being proactive. So if someone watched that episode, they're like, oh man, I need to be proactive. I'm so reactive. Stop yourself. Catch yourself. Okay? It's not I need to be proactive. It's I want to be more proactive. I want to be more proactive. Do you see that how when you say I want to be more proactive, there's actually this assumption that, hey, you already are a level of proactivity. And in fact, when you say, hey, I'm not rich, I want to be more rich, that's another way that you actually have this assumption. So more and yet, super powerful. And okay, so the first 3 examples, very straightforward of adding more and yet. Let me give you some more examples that use this, that starts sort of flipping around the words so that it becomes softer. Someone says, I'm not social. Debbie Downer. What a Debbie Downer. Positive Polly says, I want to be more social. Notice they said that I'm not social to I want to be more social. Okay? In fact, you can even, another softener, which I didn't mention, is I'm not social can turn into I'm not very social. Okay? You see that assumption there? The pre-assumption is basically that, hey, I am social somewhat, but I'm not very social. Okay? But still, it has that flavor, that tint of failure. I'm not very social. Okay? In fact, you could use it in a conversation. Oh man, why don't you talk to those people? Well, I'm not very social. That's not good, you know? So if someone says, hey, why didn't you talk to those people? A positive person would say, well, you know, I want to be more social. Next time I will. You see the difference? It's huge. It's huge. Next thing, Debbie Downer says, it won't happen. If you ever hear people say that, oh man, it won't happen. I catch myself saying stuff like that. Oh no, that's not going to happen. Positive Polly says, maybe it will happen. So maybe is a softener. Maybe it will happen. Or hey, it could happen. It could happen. So maybe and could are other softeners. They allow for possibility and positivity. So those words, the big ones to remember is yet and more. I use that all the time. Someone says, "Hey, Monish, I'm not living my ideal career. I'm not engaging my ideal career." Well, no, I'm not engaging my ideal career yet. Okay, catch yourself. So in review, right? Your language reinforces and creates a reality. Okay, it definitely does. The more you say negative things, the more likely it just keeps on drilling it deeper and deeper, deeper. I'm not rich. I'm not rich. I'm not rich. Keep on saying it and it's going to become true. Okay, but people that say, hey, I'm not rich yet, or hey, I'm going to be rich one day, or hey, it's going to happen, they allow for possibility and they allow their mind to look for those opportunities. Someone who says, I'm not rich, has a negative mindset. They're not going to see those opportunities. It will be filtered automatically. The language will help your brain filter. Okay, it's very crazy. I'm going to go into more language stuff and why it's so key to have really good language. But really, stop beating yourself up. That's the big thing. Language softeners like yet or more help create more possibility and positivity. Ugh. Not only that, but you should add them at the end of statements. So I'm not social yet. Okay, or I want to be more social. Okay, so more is a little bit embedded towards the end, but just, notice yet and more, those are the key ones I want you to work on. Focus on process, not progress. Baby steps, okay? This is the thing. The reason why you're talking this way, why you're being a Debbie Downer, why you're being a negative Nancy, is because it's been ingrained in us for such a long time, okay? So get over that. Start focusing on your process. How are you being in relationship to challenges and goals in your life? Okay? Process, not process. Process, not progress. Oh man, I guess it's getting towards the end of our episode. Your homework, right before we end, your homework is this, okay? This week, start listening for other people when they're beating themselves up, okay? The more that you can pick it up, the better you're going to be able to catch yourself. Okay, when I coach people, I catch them all the time, and it really helps me become a better positive person because of it. So that's a little trick, okay? Catch other people doing it, and you'll start seeing it everywhere. People will start saying this left and right, and watch out for it, man. You don't want to start buying into this reality. People say, oh, I'm not successful. And you're like, yeah, you're right. I'm not successful. No, someone else's language, don't let that rub off on you. Have your own language. I'm not successful yet. Call them out. Say, hey, man, no, take it easy. You're not successful yet. Okay? And, they'll appreciate that. They'll probably laugh or something like that. So this is the bonus. Catch yourself when you're doing it too. Okay, that's very key. Catch yourself when you're doing it. All right, guys. That's your homework. Please, if you do the homework, write comments. Actually, not even if you do it. Do the homework. Write comments below. Go to www, and that's the next part. Go to www.theempowermentschool.com. We're wrapping up The Empowerment School, theempowermentschool.com for more empowering videos, more tips, more empowering ways of being. Okay, I'm your coach. I'm your friend. I'm your teacher. I'm Monish, and I'll see you next episode. Stay empowered.